Hi everybody, this is Carla again, and this time I'm back with a review for Scorpion episode 6 of season 2, which is titled Tech, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. And, before I go into the details of this episode, I have to just state for the record that I really liked this episode. I'm saying this preemptively because I know I'm going to nitpick the heck out of that technology aspect of this, and I just want to state for the record that I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I like, it's not often that I like Walter. I have a lot of trouble, really getting him and his idea that there are no emotions. So he's not one of my favorite characters by any stretch. But I liked him in this episode because he seemed real. I mean, this is the one episode where you're kind of just yelling at your screen the entire time that he's being a reckless idiot, and he deserves it. I mean, he was being a reckless idiot, but at the same time, in his being a reckless idiot, it was also a bit more human in a sense. So that said, I'm gonna be calling him an idiot a lot in this review because he really was. But understand that means that I'm happy with him in the sense that he's trying, and I like that. And he's a bit he kind of lets himself be overrun by his emotions, but in him, that's good. So understand that when I call Walter names in this, it means that I'm happy for him that he's trying. And when I start nitpicking at the smallest detail, it means it actually, the flip side of that is that I actually really like the episode. So, I'm weird like that, but let's just go with it, I'm gonna start by the things I like. And this episode was really emotional because in Walter being an asshat to everybody, it kind of, I like the confrontations it built up, the character confrontations that you got with Toby and with Happy and with Sylvester and even with Paige. It's good that people are calling Walter out on his BS. Okay, it's a good thing because he needs to learn, and it's good for him too because he can then understand that he does have emotions. And you still learn a lot of things about the other characters, but really Walter is kind of the focus. Dude, it was an at the same time it creates such drama. Okay, that scene where Toby is almost about to die. I was on the edge of my seat. Okay, the tension was, I could not believe that Walter was going to go that far to prove that he had everything under control, which he didn't, because really Happy was the one who saved the day more or less. I mean, Walter had the idea, but Happy was the one that built the thing. And just the idea that he was willing to go that far, it's mind-boggling. I mean, yes, he knows, he does the calculations in his head, and he knows there's a good chance. But it's still, even a 98% chance, this still has 2% chance of failing, And the fact that he's willing to risk his friend that much, to that point. And I know, yes, I understand that there were many people trapped in the building, but come on. I mean, you can seriously, if your friend is begging you to not do this because he feels he's gonna die, you can just straight face stare at him and tell him, this is the way we're gonna do it because this is the way that saves the most people, even if you die. I mean, seriously? Walter blew my mind in this episode. Just the risks he was going to take. And I thought it was really great that the others called him out on it. And I thought it was really great. It created really, a real intense drama through this whole thing. And that made the episode, way high up in my list. It was definitely one of the most emotional episodes we've had so far. It also created a lot of tension between in the characters themselves is like Toby finally understands that, you know, maybe the happy thing shouldn't be like cold turkey. It's just there's a balance between trying too hard to get her and then trying too hard to let go of her. Like, it has to happen organically, and I hope that he understood that in this episode, if Happy told him. I also hope that Happy kind of saw, you know, I mean, I don't really believe Sylvester when she said that Happy is the only one in the world, like the only woman in the world that doesn't want to be with him that way, that doesn't like him that way. She does like him that way, she's just afraid. I mean, that was established in the previous season, and her logical mind is kind of telling her, you know, the risk is greater than the benefit she gets from it. So she's backing off as a choice, not because there's anything instinctive in her that tells her that she doesn't care about Toby. She does care, and I hope that this time, like, seeing him almost die kind of shook something in her brain and maybe told her that, hey, it's worth it, even if you can't get hurt from it. And also Sylvester, man, Sylvester being MacGyver, God, he was amazing. I love that, and I love that they kind of took the whole maturity thing of him taking the lead and helping the kids and trying to soften things for them, while at the same time trying to be helpful and trying to get them out as soon as possible. That was so great. I mean, Sylvester really has come really far from where he started. And still, he doesn't, like, Toby was trying to get him to get rid of his comic books. No, sorry. That's a part of him. And it's a good part. It's not necessarily, I mean, yes, when he's using it as a security blanket, it's bad, but he can still have a hobby, you know, and he can still be obsessive about keeping them in perfect condition. But he's still mature at the same time. Like, he can do both. There's a balance. I think this episode was all about balance, and that was great. And Paige being jealous was the funniest thing. I mean, like, she would let out these little one-liners, like despective one-liners that I just made me laugh so much. And Gabe's expression when he was kind of dealing with her, it was great. I do have to nitpick, though, because that's just me. I nitpick everything. And this whole plot, like with the smart building and you know, the zero footprint thing, and how it could be taken over by one worm. Sure, it's one of people's greatest fears in making smart buildings, that it would leave itself open to, you know, very easily be taken over. Even if you've taken measures against it, you know, humanity's making better and better antivirus and firewall programs, but hackers are making better and better viruses. So it's kind of like, what do you do in that case? Is it worth it to have a smart building like that? And, you know, I thought it was great. At the same time, I thought some things didn't make any sense. Like, I mean, first, Walter reboots the system so that the sprinklers can come back on, and they come back on, but apparently they're crap because the fire's still going after that. So, like, really, what kind of sprinklers do you have? And they probably should have been better if you're spending all these millions in this on this smart building. Same with the whole building integrity thing. It's like, oh, the fire is causing the metal to bend. Yeah, you should have had that into account when you made the blueprints of your building. Like, how did this building even pass, you know, safety fire hazard regulations? I mean, come on, if you have a building where a fire starts up, you have to make sure that it's going to stay, like, the integrity of the building is going to stay long enough for people to be rescued. That's part of the fire code. You know, you have to build to code. How did this thing even pass? Or, like, that's right, you have the systems room where Toby got locked, or, you know, the engine room where the fire actually started in the first place. there were no, like, okay, the sprinkler system wasn't working, and there were no fire extinguishers. What? You have to have fire extinguishers. I'm sorry, even if you have the best sprinkler system in the world, there's a fire code, and you have to adhere to it. How the heck did this building even get made if, there weren't any fire extinguishers? I mean, are you serious? Also, the whole lock system, when Walter rebooted the system the first time, they were like, 20 minutes and the doors will be unlocked. Yeah, but Paige and Cave had already left the building, so how did they get out if all the doors were locked? And why can't you just get out people the same way they got out? Also, Sylvester's door was unlocked and then locked again. But apparently it was the only door that got locked. Like, Walter and Happy and Toby, they could move around the building. The room directly below Sylvester's was unlocked. Yet Sylvester was trapped in the room. And the people in the lobby couldn't get out. Also, if you have, again, bulletproof glass, they broke a few of them during the course of the episode. Why couldn't they just tell the fire department to do the same? I mean, I would assume that the structural integrity of the building is as compromised at the top than at the bottom. Maybe slightly different, but they could compromise it, so why don't you just blow up the glass the same way? Or why don't you just use a sharp object like a sharp object in a vacuum, like Happy did the first when they got Toby out? Like, it was very inconsistent all around. And also the solar panels, come on, that's the most inefficient setup I've ever seen. Like, all the energy you get from bringing out the solar panels, you have to spend on actually, the movement of the solar panels. You can't. That's like the most inefficient building ever made. Are you serious? I mean, from the beginning, I knew when they mentioned it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be a plot point. But that was all. Like, it was a plot point, and there was no other specific reason for it. Like, they just wanted it to look cool and look technological, but in reality, that's a waste of energy. It's a total waste of energy. I'm sorry. Also, there was, like, at the very end, when they finally found the dude and destroyed the chip he had in his arm, they just basically rebooted the system and everything's working a second later. Like, didn't that used to take 20 seconds the first time you did it? Like, what is going on? All of a sudden, all the doors were open and the fire was out. The sprinklers worked really quickly, and it's inconsistencies like that I don't like. So the whole building thing, yeah, not the best part of it, but still, like, I liked what the idea of the burning closed-up building did to the characters. So within that context, I still enjoyed the episode very much. But what my favorite part of the episode was? Seriously? Paige being a badass. I mean, come on. How many times have I talked about Paige and how they just don't give her anything important to do? Well, she was awesome in this episode. She was fantastic. Okay, she was great. She figured out the password. She was, interrogating the lady. She was badass. Honestly, she even took down the dude even before Cave got to him. Paige was fantastic. She helped figure things out. She was smart. She was, daring. And I loved Paige in this episode. Okay, they have to keep giving her storylines like these because, you don't need to be a genius to be awesome. And Paige was really, really awesome in this episode. Even with all the jealousy, which I thought, it was funny. But yeah, it's a little bit petty after all, since, she and Walter aren't really a thing, at least not officially. But still, like, even then she managed to come across as a great is really awesome in this episode, and I hope they keep giving her stuff like that, because she can be so great when they give her something good to do, you know. And just overall, even Ray, like I like that at the end, Walter didn't necessarily give up on Ray, because I thought for sure that one of them would find out that the reason Walter went to the mixer in the first place was because Ray told him to go, and I thought they would take it against Ray, but I'm glad they didn't. You know, it's good. It's good of Walter to really realize that he can have feelings and he needs to interact with people, and not necessarily saying he has to become normal, because there's really no such thing as normal, but if he wants to be happy, he has to interact with people eventually, and he has to, you know, try to be social, and I think Ray is good for him in that way. So I was glad that they didn't go down the path I thought they would, where like they would blame it all on Ray in the end. That was good. And I also really liked Elias's Mr. Elias resolution at the end. It's like, yeah, I'm not where I am because I'm a genius, I'm where I am because I don't give up. And I really, really, really like the quote at the end where he said, you don't know what your weak points are until you fail. And I think that's something that's very, very wise of him, and also very applicable to Walter, because he goes through the world with this idea, and he's kind of even passed it on to his team too, like Paige was doing today. Like, he's going around the world with this idea that he cannot be wrong ever. And I'm sorry, okay, you're a genius, but you can't be wrong. Mistakes can happen. Maybe not because of calculation errors, but just because you weren't sufficiently aware of your surroundings, or, just because you weren't in 100% frame of mind at the moment. Errors can happen, mistakes can happen. And what's important is that you know why they happened, so then you can build up on that and try to avoid it in the future. And I think Mr. Elias's philosophy there at the end was really interesting and really good and really applicable to Walter, so I really like that. I might just quote it, like go and write down the quote, because I really liked it. It was pretty awesome. So even if his building was kind of sketchy, with the whole panels thing and the whole how the heck did this get approved for construction thing, I like Mr. Elliot. I'm glad it wasn't, like, I thought it for a moment there, I thought it was actually going to hurt his relationship with Walter. I'm glad it didn't. So I want to see more of him. He's interesting, he's a smart dude, but he's smart in the way, not in the way that geniuses are smart, but more that he knows how to do things, and when to do things, when not to do things, when to hold back, when to go forward, and he always keeps going. So I really like that, and I hope we see more of him in the future. So overall, even if I nitpick this thing to death, but that's the thing I love about Scorpion. I just nitpick everything, and I still find it enjoyable. That's kind of my thing with this show, because it's so out there. But even if I nitpicked everything in this episode, overall I still thought it was a darn good episode. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to see more of these team building episodes, because they are really good. They have a lot of potential for drama, for character development, for character growth, like with Sylvester, for interpersonal relationships growth, and they're enough action-packed to keep you on the edge of your seat. So great episode, one of the best so far this season, and I really enjoyed it. So that's about it for my review. If you guys want to see and listen to more Scorpion reviews, be sure to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We have reviews from this season and also a recap for last season, so be sure to check it out. And we also have reviews for other TV shows, movies, books, ton of stuff in there, so be sure to visit. And I will see you guys in my next review. So, bye.